Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. Today we're out here working on this 2014 Hyundai Accent, and we're going to change out a crankshaft position sensor. We went to our local Napa Auto Parts, picked it up pretty cheap, about 47 bucks with tax. You could spend all the way up to 100 depending on which one you get and the kind of warranty that comes with it. This one has a 12-month warranty. We figured this would be good enough. We've had pretty good luck with these things. So, little description of kind of the symptoms of a bad crankshaft position sensor. My son owns this car, and he was out driving around. He would describe issues like the car would just stall at a light. He couldn't get it to start again. Sometimes the air conditioning would just shut off, and his RPM gauge would go all the way to 0. And he would basically lose power, but the car wouldn't shut off. It'd stay running, but he couldn't really speed up. It was just kind of stuck. So, we looked all that up, and I mean, you guys could type that exact description into Google, and the AI will kind of map that out and tell you that people that have described those same issues, the number one issue that they're figuring out they need to replace is the crankshaft position sensor. Now, there are camshaft position sensors, don't confuse them. The camshaft position sensors are up on top. They're real easy to get to. If you do need to change them, real easy. The crankshaft position sensor, however, is underneath, and you got to get at it from underneath this car. And as you can see, it sits really low. And so we're gonna have to jack it up, and you got to have little skinny arms, okay? I don't really necessarily have skinny arms. We're gonna see how this goes. It's a really tight space, but the job is real easy. It's one 10mm bolt, and it's also one electrical connection. So you're probably gonna need a little 10mm socket, and maybe a little extension on it, and probably a tiny flat blade screwdriver to help separate that connection so you can pull them apart. And if I remember right, there's some zip ties that are holding the wiring kind of in place under there. You may have to snip those to get this wire disconnected and get it free so that you can put the new one on. Anyway, long story short, this is an easy job. We're gonna get at it, so come with me. So this here is your crankshaft position sensor right here. That little guy will cause you a series of problems if it's going bad. Your car will stall, it'll just shut off. It may not even start for a little bit. It may have trouble starting, especially after it gets hot. And so, yeah, we're gonna swap that out. For our safety, and of course, just for accessibility, we've jacked the car up on some stands so that we can get under there. It's a real narrow space if you don't have it lifted up. So, and you've got to be able to reach right up underneath all that in a narrow space to get to that sensor. And it's about a 10mm bolt, I think, that holds it on. And I'll show you where that's at. This is looking from the top of the motor, and that little yellow sensor, the back of it right here, that's the back of the end of that pigtail on that sensor that we've got to disconnect. So you can kind of see what a narrow space we're working with, but we're gonna have to unplug that. And then it's held on with a couple kind of like zip ties, holding it in place so it doesn't just flop around in there and get tangled up and stuff. So we're gonna have to cut those. And then from the underside, you have to reach up in, there's a 10mm bolt that holds that back side on. And I'll show you where that's at from the underside of it, and so you can kind of see what kind of space we're working with. So that guy right there, that's the back side of that camshaft or crankshaft position sensor right there. We got to just remove that one bolt. There is a tiny O-ring on it that's going to help hold it in place. It actually seals, so we may drip a little oil when we're doing this, but so it may be a little hard for it to come out. Might have to pry on it a little bit, but we'll disconnect that. And then you can see that cord, the wires run right up in there. It's real narrow. We're gonna have to try and snip those tie downs or the zip ties and get that kind of fished out of there. And then we'll run the new one back up to the new plug and connect it. As you can see, I tried prying off those zip tie holders, but they just weren't budging. So we ended up getting some snips and we cut them off. So now you can see we have been able to disconnect that zip tie. I had to cut it. Same with this one up here, had to cut that. And now we're at the point right under here where the back side of that sensor is, and it slides down on this little post. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Let me see. Slides down on this post, and the new connector's got to go on that. See, we just popped it off. So now you can see that sensor is free right there. So now we'll disconnect that and pull off that 10mm bolt. Let's see. As I understand it, we have to get to that from the top. Okay, we got both those plugs disconnected right there. Got those pulled apart. Now we're gonna go underneath the car and use that 10mm socket and remove the back side of that sensor. Pull that out, then we can put the new one in. There she goes. There's the old one. It's really hard to say, like, can't really tell if anything looks more worn than something else. There's that little O-ring. But we're gonna reverse this process and put this nice new one in. So here we go. So now you can see we've tightened up that 10mm bolt, ran this cord back up through here. We got it mounted right up here, and we've just reconnected the little plug up there. So now we can actually just fire it up and see how it runs. Gotta go take it for a test drive. Here it is from the top view, and you guys can see that yellow connector down there. That's the back side of it. Got the new one hooked on. Not too bad of a job. It's just such a tight workspace. I was still able to get it done probably in about 25 minutes. So maybe some of you guys are a little quicker at it than I would be. It's not too hard of a job. It's just a tight workspace. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully this helps you guys see what it takes to get this done. I wish I could have done a little better job filming, but I needed both my hands sometimes, so it was a little hard. I was trying to balance the phone. So stick around, and we'll see you guys on the next video.